Saitama from One Punch Man might just be the most powerful hero that's ever existed. Like, we're talking absurd levels of strength that not even Superman or Captain Marvel could possibly dream of. However, the origins of most of our favorite heroes are typically well documented and explained. With this character, that's not exactly the case. So where does all of his strength come from then? Let's start by taking a look at what backstory we do know. In the first episode of the critically acclaimed anime series, which can be found on Netflix if you haven't seen it yet, we see a young man in a suit confronted by a giant crab-like monster wearing tighty whities. He's like a giant half-man, half-crab creature. This guy explains that he ate so much crab that he actually turned into a crab-like monster, and now he wreaks havoc everywhere he goes. The monster is perplexed by the man's lack of fear towards him, and he lets him off the hook rather than do any harm to him. The crab monster eventually finds the target he was looking for, which happens to be a young boy who he appears to have like a... How do I put this? He has a butt for a chin. Look, it's a weird show and there isn't enough time in this video to explain every little detail. So the half-crab person wearing tighty whities finds the boy with the butt for a chin and has dastardly plans for him. The man in the suit intervenes and doesn't let any harm come to the child. An epic showdown ensues as this seemingly regular dude takes a beating from the monster, but is ultimately able to defeat him by kind of pulling all of his internal organs and all of his guts through his eye socket. You know, that old trick. The show then flashes forward 3 years and we see Saitama, now bald, ironically buying crab legs in a grocery store before having to save the world from an evil giant. Okay, so what the heck happened in those 3 years? Why does he look completely different and why does he dress like a superhero now? Well, he followed a very strict and rigorous training regimen that he followed every single day for 3 years. Every single day, he would do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and he'd run 10 kilometers. He also had no air conditioning, which is apparently a vital part to the process, and he ate a banana for breakfast every single morning. Nothing else, just a banana. He did that every day for 3 years, and as a result, he lost all of his hair and he gained all of this incredible powers. It wasn't like a gradual thing either. Like, the powers just awoke after 3 years of continuously doing these moderately difficult workouts. Okay, so question number 1, at least in my opinion, is why did he lose his hair? Perhaps it was, I don't know, stress related? The manga explains that the overwhelming feeling of alienation in exchange for power is what caused him to suddenly go bald. Seems like a pretty fair trade-off, no? A life of constant unrest and discomfort along with a bald head in exchange for the most powerful abilities known to humankind. It seems reasonable if you ask me. Or perhaps One Punch Man works in sort of a reverse Dragon Ball kind of way. Rather than the hair going all wild like when Goku goes Super Saiyan, it's the opposite effect, and, massive amounts of power instead leads to hair loss in this universe. Speaking of which, it's a common topic of debate online, who's more powerful, Saitama or Goku? Considering One Punch Man is meant to essentially be a parody of shows like Dragon Ball, and everything is supposed to be comically exaggerated, I don't think this is even a close debate. One Punch Man would knock that pointy hair right off the top of Goku's scalp. The only problem with that level of power, and this is a major one, is that there's no more excitement. He's too powerful, which causes a general malaised approach to the whole hero job. He approaches saving the world and fighting off huge intimidating monsters with the same enthusiasm as someone working at a cubicle at a desk job. He can literally defeat anyone with just one punch. He doesn't even have to try hard. It's also a valuable lesson that resonates true with everyone's ordinary lives. If everything just goes your way 100% of the time, then there's no point, that's just boring. Saitama is actually eerily comparable, I find, to Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty. They both share the same unimpressed approach to life. Saitama is too powerful, whereas Rick is too intelligent. They both don't feel challenged anymore, so their approach to life is, unfortunately, pretty depressing. It's an addiction, and they're both constantly seeking their fix, only there's nothing out there strong enough.
Hi, my name is Rob. I'm 22 years old, and I'm addicted to hitting the whoa.
Saitama is too strong and Rick is too smart, meaning their tolerance is too high to feel anything.
I just got bored. Everybody out.
In fact, Saitama even has dreams of fighting off worthy opponents who give him a run for his money. He fantasizes about terrifying villains who can pose a real threat, only to wake up to a world where that doesn't exist, and any villain that he encounters is easily and quickly discarded of. It's a self-imposed existential crisis, where he's too powerful to gain any thrill whatsoever from the battles that he so passionately longs for. Besides, he isn't a hero because he cares about fighting for justice or protecting the innocent. He does it because it just seems fun. He gets a kick out of it. Even in a world that's constantly under attack by demons and aliens and other dangerous evil forces, he's much more concerned with the sales going on at the local grocery store. Like a crime boss in a world where everything is legal, he can no longer enjoy the one thing that he's passionate about. So let's jump back to where these powers actually come from. I mentioned his exercise routine, but we all know that that's not a real viable answer as to how to become a superhuman. Sure, it's always a good idea to do some push-ups and sit-ups every day, but that isn't going to land you any superpowers. According to the backstory, not even Saitama knows exactly how or why this happened. He's not exactly the most complex character after all. It could be argued that he's sort of a simple person, and rather than dwell on the origins of his powers or where they came from, he instead just prefers to relax and enjoy his hero duties. While most animes like this typically show the main character developing and evolving their skills and shows them getting stronger, One Punch Man is different because it just starts out with him at the max. In Dragon Ball, the Saiyans spend years in the hyperbolic time chamber in order to become stronger. In this show, he just did a couple of squats. And there's no more room to improve. How'd that happen? One theory is that he's a wish monster, meaning his training had little to do with it, and instead, anything he wishes for comes true. Another theory is that Saitama is actually in a coma following his bout with the crab monster, and that every event that comes after that one altercation is entirely in his mind, hence why he's able to defeat everyone so easily. Perhaps the best theory, however, is that in the process of training so rigorously, he broke his limiter. Every human has a limit on how powerful they can be and what they can achieve, but Saitama got rid of his. Through hard work and dedication, he pried open the doors of his limits and totally broke whatever ceiling there was in place. That would totally explain why his powers awoke one day and it wasn't like a gradual improvement type of thing. His limiter broke, meaning the second that happened, the floodgates just opened. He isn't particularly special in any way. He was born the normal way, he lived an ordinary life, and had no special powers or potential whatsoever. He was just an ordinary guy who dedicated himself to becoming a hero, so much so that it happened in abundance. Which brings me to an interesting part of the whole One Punch Man universe. I believe that emotions and desires is what creates their powers. Think about it. Saitama wanted to be a hero, so he trained until one day he just turned into the most powerful hero of all time. He isn't the only example though. In the initial encounter with the crab thing, the monster explains its personal backstory, which came from a serious obsession with crabs. Later in that very same pilot episode, we're introduced to the terrifying Super Custom, a person who was so obsessed with building custom cars that he turned into a custom car type of monster. It happens over and over again in the One Punch Man universe. Someone's desires is what gives them powers, and can actually transform them. If you do something excessively, or you wish to become something and you work on it hard enough and you're passionate enough about it, you can actually make that change. That's the secret to Saitama's powers. It has less to do with the push-ups and sit-ups, but more to do with his desire to be the strongest hero in the world. I guess the same could be said about real life to a degree. You probably won't turn into a crab monster just by eating too much crab, but if you're passionate about something and dedicated enough to it, then you could really be whatever you want. That's a pretty beautiful underlying message from such a ridiculous and absurd show. Well, what do you think? Does that explain Saitama's powers, or do you have another idea? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Before you go, make sure to smash that thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe to ScreenRant to stay up to date on all of our latest releases. Until next time, bye!